Racing. We're in the game.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
JS Racing. We're in the game.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Super Formula 23 Be Open Series right here, live on VSPEED. Brought to you in part by Graham Crackers Racing. No matter if you're searching for speed or a place to race, you found it. Stop by the Graham Crackers Racing Discord server where everybody is welcome. Looking for a team? You're in luck. We are actively recruiting for both our Super Formula 23 and NASCAR teams. join by using the link in the description below. And while you're there, don't forget to check out Race Ready 3D's link as well. All thanks to the partnership with SimRacingNation.com for making this possible for all of us here on VSPEED. I'm your host, Logan Threlkeld, and taking controls in the production truck as our co-host, Bradley Cooper. And we are here at Adelaide Street Circuit for the first time on the VSPEED channel. Bradley, how are you doing today?
I'm all right. This is a new venue for both of us. I've heard that it's very technical and very difficult, but as far as a street circuit goes, it's got a lot of characteristics, very unique setup, and I'm very excited to see the very first sim race here on VSPEED at Adelaide.
It looks like the qualifying has already ended a little bit earlier than we had expected, so let's get right into the grid. Taking the pole on the event today, the number 3 of Rohan Samir, lined up next to the 5 of Dan Yang. In row number 2, Valerio Tavares and the number 2 of Dennis Branch. In row number 3, it's the 8 of Gabriel Martinez next to the 9 of Victor Odd. Behind them, the 7 of I.M. Keeman next to the 11 of Michael Dodd. The 16 of Edward Coffin is next to the 14 of Max Mueller. In 11th, the 15 of Yaroslav Pashneshnikov next to the 12 of Leandro Terset. The 17 of Christian Dernberger next to the 18 of Cesar Menin de Mello. The 13 of Antonio Alvarez next to the 19 of Gianni Lettinen. The 20 of Helio Dango Mumbani next to the 21 of James Flores. Our number 1 contender, Jansu Foster, rolls off in P19 next to the 6 of Lucas Hand. And last but not least, our 22 card field on the day, the 10 of Felipe Sarkis next to the 22 of Albert Popov. We are just about ready to get going. We got that one fired off pretty quick. Proud of that as the lights start to come on, the engines rev up, and we are ready to go. In South Australia, green flag waves, and away it goes Dan Yang. Already some issues for some drivers on the start. We ended up 3 wide before we even crossed the start-finish line. But we mentioned this track very, very tough and not a lot of room to work with on passing opportunities. A couple drivers rolling off of the pit road start as Dan Yang has taken control of this race. Got a better jump than Rohan Samir. And away they go to the back half of this just a tick over 2-mile circuit. Trying to get those tires warmed up as quickly as possible. It is a very, very slick street surface with very tight radius corners here, Bradley.
You know, it's James Flores and Jenny Litton that stayed in the pits there rolling off, and Edward Coffin had problems. I think that was the car in turn 2 that got damaged and took it behind the wall.
Already around for the first time this afternoon. Lap number 1, under control of the 5 of Dan Yang. Rohan Samir, Valerio Tavares, Dennis Branch, Victor Odd making up your top 5. Only a couple positions have swapped around. Odd started in 6, got around Gabriel Martinez on that start. Made his way up to P5, but all the action has been in the back. Jansu Foster is tearing through this field on a mission, already up 10 positions here on the first lap and a half.
Quick moves here for Foster. Like you said, 10 spots gained. Maybe a mistake in qualifying, you know, not taking a time. I saw a lot of drivers have a problem getting around this place for one clean lap. And when you're trying to push this car, especially on cold tires, it doesn't surprise me with all these 90-degree corners.
Speaking of 90 degrees, it is in the upper 90s on the track surface today. We're a little under the weather here in the VSPEED booth, but not under any sort of weather here in Australia. A beautiful day for racing, 72 degrees ambient air temperature, and just under 100 degrees on the track surface. This should make for some very, very fast lap times. As we work back through turns 1 and 2 here, looking at Dan Yang and Rohan Samir. Not a whole lot of room separates these two. So expect to see this battle start to come to fruition here in the next couple of laps once both of the driver tires start to warm up. They can really get the grip put down here as we're on board with Valerio Tavares running in the 3rd spot just behind Yang and Senior. You see a lot of this track will be ran in the lower gearing. It'll be 3rd and 4th gear for a good part of it. We've got this long straightaway here with a slight right-hand bend. Back down to 2nd gear for the hairpin right-hander. It's 3rd and 4th gear through most of this course. Just not a lot of time, not enough roadway to get up to that 6th gear for most of it.
And then maybe during the end, towards the end, when these guys start using push to pass a little bit more, maybe we'll see 6th gear. But you can see it briefly there down the front stretch. That's about all the room you have for it.
Diving into the hard braking short straight. A little bit of a battle here towards the back. This is with the 20. Emilio Mabani.
DeMello actually made a mistake there and is letting cars go by. I think he's starting to feel the effects of tires already, not wanting to get in anybody's way. And for a lot of drivers, this is a new course. So, you know, you're trying to keep the car in one piece and let the attrition take over. There's a good chance of that. So don't push the issue and you get comfortable.
Of course, Adelaide Street Course being added in the most recent iRacing update. It's been a hot commodity here among a lot of the servers that I'm a part of. A lot of conversation around this circuit and how excited people were to see it being added to the rotation here. I know in my short time of, you know, getting some practice laps, not in these cars, surprisingly enough, I found it very, very tough to learn this track in a quick manner, but it looks like these drivers here spent quite a bit of time this week figuring it out. As Dan Yang, Rohan Senior,
Contact behind.
Oh, goodness.
Lucas hand got into the back of Dodd into turn 2, maybe turn 3 there.
Those last 2 drivers in our top 10 here. Let's take a look back at it. Hand just way later on the brakes, and it's so easy to lock these cars up. It's going to collect 2 of them. Michael Dodd already has to use the toe, could not get it back around to the pit lane here. The meatball flag displayed for the number 11. You know, Hand has to feel bad about something like that. Looks like issues with Rohan Senior. Senier's upside down. What has happened to the number 3, our pole setter on the afternoon? Upside down just before the start-finish line here.
Lap traffic possibly here? Oh, wow.
That's exactly what it is. That's not any good for anybody involved.
That was the 12 of Tercet. He was already a lap down. Man. Right here, this is Tercet. He's already had a problem. He's trying to get the car back going. The 5 of Gang goes by, and the 3 just nowhere to go.
Senior expecting Tercet to take to the right-hand side of the course. That last-second decision to bring it back to the left. It appears to be trying to stay out of the way. And just the communication obviously not there. Ends in travesty for our pole setter. Rohan Senior will be completely out of this race. Dan Yang now with a 3-second lead over Valerio Tavares for that number 1 spot. And the battle is on behind them. Jansu Foster has already worked his way up into the top 5, currently holding on to the 4th spot, got around Victor Odd last lap. And now looking to chase down Dennis Branch, Tavares, and Yang. What a drive coming out of the number 1 machine. Of course, we're no stranger to seeing Jansu Foster being very, very fast at tracks. Any track on the schedule, really. It's odd to see starting so far back again in that 19th position on the grid. But in a matter of coming around to start lap number 8. In a matter of 7 laps, has already gained 15 positions. That's an incredible performance, to say the least.
Yeah, we're looking at the push to pass. He hasn't used any of it. Some of these drivers up front have used about 40 to 50 seconds. He's still wide open and a second faster than the cars in front of him. So, incredible drive. Interested to see if he can get up there before the end of this, though. It's still about 5.5 seconds.
We started with 22. We currently have 15 still on the track. 16th on back has either retired or they're attempting to get some of the damage fixed. I don't think any of the drivers that are currently in pit road will be able to make it back out onto the track with the damage that they had. There goes Rohan Sneer from the session. Felipe Sarkis, Michael Dodd, Edward Coffin, Leandro Tercet, Max Mueller, and Albert Popov all retiring with Sneer.
Another driver that's moved up a lot of positions is Lucas Hand. He's gained 12 spots. Not quite as on the move as the one of Jansu Foster, but still, admirable day. You know, you start all the way at the tail end of this field. There's only one way to go. And so, 8th position here for Lucas Hand.
And after the contact with Michael Dodd that took the 11 machine out, I could have swore I saw the nose cone disconnected from the 6 of Lucas Hand, but the iRacing overlords here decided to give it back to him, and he is making his way up through the field, trying to cut into that deficit. Currently 13.5 seconds back from I.M. Keeman in the 7th position. But there's plenty of race left to make that much, much smaller. And see if he can work his way a little bit closer to the top 5 as Jansu Foster gets around Dennis Branch for the 3rd spot. It's up to a podium from essentially the end of the field.
That's just a different kind of pace. I mean, we've talked about it before with the I rating that this driver has, but that's just a different kind of speed. A lot of the cars around him right now are very much in the same realm. I mean, 7,000 I rating to 5,000, maybe 6,000 I rating. So these guys are no slouch, but I think it's just a different kind of approach to this racetrack, and that's what Foster's notorious for. He finds those little pieces where he can make up a 10th here or there all the way around the circuit, and he's always just got that edge.
Smooth is fast at a course like this, Bradley. That is evident here. And smooth is Jansu Foster right now on an absolute terror to the rest of the field. Dan Yang, Valerio Tavares have a little bit of breathing room, but we still have 20 plus laps to go before it's settled. That's a whole lot of time where they have to figure out exactly where they're losing those tenths of a second and try to change that course of direction. Is it the setup, you would wonder? Maybe a little bit more time spent on getting the suspension just right for a circuit like this. As Dan Yang, Valerio Tavares making their way around some of the lap traffic here. Back down the front stretch.
Edward Coffin's back on the racetrack here. Saw Coffin have problems very early, and I think a connection issue has also been part of the problem for Coffin.
It looks to still be plaguing the 16 there, just momentarily disappearing from the track surface. A lot of new names out here this afternoon. This is our one and only split on the event as well. I believe you said it was a 3,600 strength of field, so one of the lower ones that we've seen. Just not a whole lot of participation here on this Saturday. I expect a lot of drivers out practicing for the Daytona 24 coming up soon. But
Yeah,
still
top split
a
3260 for one split here. A lot of it has to do, Logan, I think, with this track being so new. A lot of guys haven't purchased it yet, and some guys just aren't comfortable going out here and racing it, knowing that nobody else really knows the place. So, you know, when you're looking at I rating, you're looking at safety ratings, sometimes there's a track that you just put an asterisk next to and say, nope, not this time.
Taking a look at this battle at the back half of the top 10. That was the 17 of Christian Dernberger with the 19 Jani Lettinen right behind, about a half second behind. Gap is closing, and up at the front, though, Jansu Foster is now within a quarter of a second of Valerio Tavares.
They're going to
Here's his
overtake
look
here.
to the inside. Jansu Foster gets side by side, has the advantage into the hairpin, and he's going to clear Valerio Tavares for P2. 4.5 seconds now behind Dan Gang, our current race leader, who is coming up on some of that lap traffic as well. A lot of lap traffic at that.
Go by the 15 of Vinishnikov. Go through turn 1, and you know, I've seen this pace kind of change here for the 5. I think he's realized Foster is on the way. Maybe it's time to turn up the heat a little bit.
Trying to get as many cars in between you as possible as well can certainly be a benefactor in holding on to the race lead.
You can see the lap times there. The first, I think we're going to approach the 104 here pretty soon, but is it too soon? That's the question. You look at the push to pass still. Foster turned it up a little bit, used some of it. Yang is going to probably start using his when you get down to that 2-second mark.
And coming out of turn 16. Flying down the front stretch into turn 1 and 2, then turn 3, the center chicane. Taking a look at Dennis Branch here.
Victor
Victor
Odd
Odd just behind.
Caught up a lot the last 2 laps.
So small mistakes possibly from Branch. Victor Odd could be finding his pace here in the mid portion of this race. Just about to the halfway point. Slow car just ahead of him, going to allow all of the room into turn 4. James Flores making sure he's not in the way of the race leaders. A good opportunity for Flores to find, you know, the correct late racing line here behind those guys. He can close up that gap a little bit and focus on where their entry point is, where their braking points are, and try to copy that. Could be very beneficial for him.
Foster is on the way. This last time by almost a 1.5 seconds faster. So for when we saw Dan Gang pulling away by 0.3, now it's the complete opposite, and multiply that by 3. So much faster.
40-second difference on the OTS system. 139 seconds remain for Yang. 178 for Jansu Foster. Foster with one more car in between himself and the race leader. They'll move to the right-hand side of the track, open it up for Foster to get around. It's Edward Coffin in the 16. Falls back in line behind Foster. And now the chase is on. It will
Wide
be
open.
Yamato here between Yang and Foster.
Yang put a lot of cars between him and Foster, hoping that the lap traffic would be difficult to navigate, and it hasn't been. Every lap, Foster's been a little bit quicker, and that last time, like I said, it was almost a full 1.5 seconds. You gotta start wondering if the pressure's gonna get to the 5. This is a real opportunity. Had a great lead. Foster starting all the way back in 20th position. '19th, actually. That's incredible. I've never seen somebody put that much pace down, especially to a track this new.
Comes with the territory of being in that 10,000 I rating area as Jansu Foster is. Looks like we have another retiree from the event, the 20 of Helio Mabani. Will exit the race. Edward Coffin will have an opportunity to gain one more spot up into the top 15. Currently 5 laps down for the 16 of Coffin. James Flores ahead, 2 laps down. So it's unlikely that Coffin will be able to gain many more positions here unless we have more retirees from the race back here on the VSPEED Instant Replay. A look at what happened to the 20 machine.
It's lost traction.
Turn number 11 into turn 12, slides through turn 12. A little too early on the gas, not enough grip in the rear. Knocks off the front right tire. Fortunate circumstance there for Helio.
Look who's here.
But not unfortunate at the front. The battle is on within a half second now for Foster and Yang. Foster taking a look to the inside. A fake maybe coming from the number 1 machine. Expecting Yang to maybe shoot down to the bottom and try to block that move. Yang holds on to the outside for the corner entry. Working their way through turns 14 and 15, down into the Mistral hairpin, turn 16, back to the front straight. Yang still has control. It'll be key for Yang right now to keep Dirty Air on the nose, take away that perfect racing line from Janssen Foster, force him to make the move, to make the pass, either harder on the brakes or maybe use up a little bit more of that OTS on one of the straightaways here. Coming up on lap traffic for Yang, this could be a situation where cooler heads will prevail. Great. We got him out of the way there as we make our way out of turn 7. Down Bartles Road here to the Babram Straight after turn 9.
This is where Foster has made a lot of overtakes, his long straightaways where he can get that speed up, catch him off guard. Good defense here with the slipstream. But someone in the chat there, the closed one, said it's just a matter of patience now. I think he's right. It's just the waiting game. When is the right opportunity? You don't want to force the issue. You can make Zhan Yang make a mistake and take you both out. You don't want to put him in a bad situation. But you've caught up to him. You know you're faster. No reason to make a mistake, put you guys in a bad place.
Completely agree with that comment there in the YouTube chat. A lot of debris in turn number 4 as well, or turn number 5 rather. So that's another thing these drivers will have to navigate, at least for a few laps before that debris starts to get picked up by the tires and thrown back off of the course. It's a little bit lighter on the throttle, a little bit lighter on the braking, a little bit earlier on the braking to avoid that. Back down into the turn 11 hairpin. Turn 12, 13, and 14. A nice little rhythm section there that Yang seems to be figuring out here in the back half of the race. Doing a great job to keep that distance, that separation right at the 0.4 of a second mark. It seems to grow a little bit there in the last couple of corners of this circuit.
It definitely has the speed, and then you see Foster make it back up on those long sweeping corners and the long straightaway on the back half of this course. But look at that debris. That right there is changing the line of the racetrack, because all that right there, you have to go one way through that corner or risk spinning out. Overtake on here for the one.
Utilizing that OTS system just momentarily, got a better drive off the corner to the inside, defending here in turn 11. Oh, and a slide from Foster. This will give Yang the advantage here through 13, 14. Up to a half second now ahead of Foster. That is a prime opportunity wasted by the number 1 machine. A little bit early on the throttle. Not enough grip there.
That'd be a lot. That'd be a lot to ask, though. That outside, I don't think that's the spot to pass. He's done it a couple times, but he's done it on the inside. There, the outside line, the 5 knew that, gave him the outside. Smart defense.
Excellent racecraft being displayed by Yang, knowing exactly where those passing opportunities could come about.
There's a car in the wall right in front of the leaders there. I don't know who that was. I think it was James Flores maybe parking it out of the way. Thought I heard a car hit the wall, but I couldn't get an angle on it. That happened right in front of your leaders, and I just got a glimpse of a spoiler going through. I think just trying to get out of the way. Courteous drivers here in the lap down traffic. We only have 7 cars on the lead lap here.
Gang, Alonso Foster, Valerio Tavares, Dennis Branch, Victor Odd, Gabriel Martinez, and Ian Keeman making up your lead lap
Here it is
cars.
right here. That was a mistake by the 5.
Foster tries to set up for the outside, another slide, tries to get to the outside again for turn number 5. Contact
block
before turn 6. Just a slight nudge to the back end of Dan Yang. But the 5 holds it in front for the time being, but the pressure being applied heavily now by Jansu Foster. We've noticed the front, the longer straights is where that number 1 seems to prevail. To the inside here for turn number 11. He's gonna get it. Pushes Yang to the outside. And there is the pass for the lead that we've been waiting to see attempted. And finally holds on to it. Yang not going to let it go easily. This section has been his stomping grounds as he moves to the inside here for turn 16. Contact. Both of them getting upset here. Oh,
I'm still trying to get it.
Trying to hold it together.
Maybe damage there on the 5.
There it is, the 5 with the meatball flag. He did end up picking up enough damage. That's going to take Dan Yang completely out of contention for this. He's going to park it on the side of the track. He's going to call for the tow truck.
That was nothing. I mean, that was a touch. I mean, I know that these are open wheel cars, but come on, iRacing. That was nothing.
Just enough to bend some sort of a suspension component. You can see that there's just no way for Yang to really control that. What a fantastic move, however. Just a little bit too wide. It almost pushed Jansu Foster off the track. Foster holding his line coming out of turn 16. That's all it takes. The way that his steering is off-centered, for some reason it seems like front-end damage.
Doesn't make sense to me. Not to call out iRacing, but
with the front end.
That one doesn't add up.
Jansu Foster now up 18 positions, 9.5 seconds ahead of Valerio Tavares, who has assumed the second place spot with Dennis Branch about 2 seconds behind him. And Victor Odd staying right in that bubble, just under a second here, bouncing around anywhere from 1/2 second to 3/4 of a second behind Dennis Branch. So the battle for P3 can still come about here. The rest of the field very much separated. Seems like everybody pretty well out on their own.
Yeah, podium still up for grabs here. Victor Odd down to 1/2 second there briefly. I want to go back to that battle. It was great racing, and it is a shame. It's not particularly anyone's fault. I don't think Foster intended to get into the left rear of the 5, and it was a heck of a move there in that final corner. You saw that bread and butter pass, kind of that over-under dogfight that I think we just got denied a great finish to this race.
We absolutely did. Now with less than 10 laps to go, I don't think the battle for the lead is going to appear for us here. Hate to see that for Dan Yang. A great race ended early by what seems to be just a slight miscalculation. So we're going to take a look on board here with Victor Odd, trying to chase down Dennis Branch. He's got the momentum, sets up for the inside. Branch shuts the door in turn 11. Odd really had no opportunity there, way late on the brakes, got him close. He's staying under that 1/2 second mark now as we work through turn 12 through 15. Down to Mistral Hairpin as well. Back to the front straight. Branch gets a better drive off of turn 16. But that straight line speed seems to be in favor of Victor Odd. The cornering in turns 1, 2, and 3, though, in favor of Dennis Branch. He was able to gain about a 10th and a half there over Victor Odd.
Still got plenty of time left to make this pass, but if you're Victor Odd, you're going to have to find that proper spot on the racetrack where you can make this overtake. He's late on the brakes compared to Branch, but that's not necessarily the recipe that gets you past him. You can brake later, but you might end up running into the back of him.
It's going to be all about, like the YouTube comments said earlier, the patience game. If he can just close that gap up and keep it consistently about 1/4 second to 0.3 seconds, you can hold on to that kind of a difference here. That could be just enough pressure applied to force Dennis Branch to make that tiny mistake that the number 9 needs to open the door for an opportunity to attack and get around. Now holding on to about 3/4 second behind. Sue Foster continues to extend his lead. However, a mistake this last lap. About 5 seconds worth of mistake as well.
Yeah, I think lap traffic was the factor there.
Last time by for Foster was a 1 minute 10 second .629. Valerio Tavares with a 105.425. So that opened up the door for the number 4. Now about 4.5 seconds behind. We saw it at 9 seconds just a few laps ago. 163 seconds of OTS still remain for the number 1. Only 63 seconds remain for Valerio Tavares.
Well, there you go, Logan. He turned around and ran the fastest lap of the race. So he knew he made a little mistake, and then he turns in 104.308.
Well, I wish I could say anything other than I'm speechless. What a rebound of a bad lap to a great lap for Janssen Foster. And he's going to extend that lead now up to 5.5 seconds over Tavares.
Dennis Branch
Victor
pulled
Odd
away.
again.
Starting to pull away a little bit here.
Looks like the setup in favor of the long run for Dennis Branch in the number 2 machine. Both of those drivers there in P3 and P4 into the 104s. 104.905 for Branch last time by, 104.771 for Victor Odd. This time by, the rules are reversed 0.3 seconds. 105.124 for Branch, 105.452 for Victor Odd.
Yeah, I think that lap car there, Odd met it at the wrong time. That final corner, couldn't take the exit the way he wanted to. And it was a little more difficult to get the power down that way. Branch navigating this lap traffic a little cleaner. And when you're on somebody's back bumper, you know, Dennis Branch is choosing where these passes are going to come from, and then Victor Odd just has to decide if he wants to go with them or wait for the next corner, and that's where you lose time. Gained it all back right there, though.
Lap traffic of James Flores might have had a little bit to do with it. Got out of the way of Dennis Branch, but it seemed to be maybe a corner or two too late. This will close up that gap between Branch and Odd once again. Now 0.3 seconds separating these two. Branch clearly faster through turns 1, 2, and 3. But Odd way later on the brakes. That's what's keeping him in this battle right now, is his ability to, you know, brake about 25 to 30 meters later than Dennis Branch is, which is incredible to think about because this track is just so slick. Being the street surface for the circuit, there's no real way to, you'll keep it 100% gripped up. Then the straight line speed comes in favor of the number 2. Not again late on the brakes. One thing I do want to bring to attention here, Edward Coffin. We saw him with the early issues. He's been 5 laps down pretty well the entire race, but still working his way back up the field. I didn't think there was much of a chance for Coffin to work his way back up from, I believe the last time we checked in on the 16 machine, he was in 15th place, but with the attrition of a couple drivers, he's been able to work his way up 3 more spots here. Just perseverance, staying out on the track as long as possible here. A great look and a great drive coming from the 16. He's lost 3 positions from where he started, but you can't be upset with such a tough field ahead. 2 laps to go here at Adelaide in South Australia. Nearly coming to a close for the Super Formula B Open Series. Oh, and Odd with a great look there. Jansu Foster, 9.7 seconds ahead of Valerio Tavares. But Victor Odd nearly got to the inside of Dennis Branch in turn 11. He's got 1 more lap to make this count. White flag is out. Who will take up that 3rd spot on the podium? 1st and 2nd seem to be essentially locked down. Dennis Branch and Victor Odd both gaining ground on Valerio Tavares, however. Tavares just now entering turn 4. Small mistakes coming from the 4 machine could put him off of the podium. Bradley, it seems like we're going to get a great finish here regardless. It's just for a different position than what we thought. The battle is on, separated by less than 2 seconds now between 2nd to 4th.
Yeah, any push to pass left, use it.
Every single one of these drivers utilizing that push to pass. Victor Odd unfortunately cut his early. I don't think he'll have enough time to activate it again before the start finish line. 10 seconds remain for our 2nd and 3rd place drivers. Through turn 15, now turn 16. Odd's last chance. Can he get a run coming down the front stretch? Tucked up behind Dennis Branch, but no, he does not pick up enough speed. Jansu Foster takes home the win. Valerio Tavares in P2, and Dennis Branch rounds out our podium finishers with Victor Odd trying to get there, just a 1/4 of a second behind.
It's incredible to me that 2nd through 4th accordion back together that quickly. That happened within the last 2 laps of the race. And I'm not sure if Tavares started making mistakes or if he just ran out of push to pass and Branch and Odd had all of that left. But they made up almost 3 seconds with 2 to go.
Great driving on display there in the last 5 laps between our 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place drivers. A lot of movement throughout the field. We'll get to that in just a minute as Jansu Foster bringing it back around the track here. Coming through turn 15, back to the front straight here just shortly for his celebration. Rather just gonna bring it down pit road. Back here where that pass for the race win was made, the slight contact that upset the left rear. We did have confirmation out there in the YouTube chat as well, Bradley, that contact with the rear tires like that can upset the steering, like we saw in the cockpit view of Dan Yang. So it's a little odd for us oval guys to see something like that, but we do understand in the grand scope of things. The battle that lasted for about 6 or 7 laps between Foster and Yang ended with the contact out of turn 16. And Foster never looked back from there. Got lucky that no damage was created on his right front. And able to take it all the way back to another race win on the season. Congratulations to Kevin Jansu Foster. We'll have a word with him in just a moment. What do you say we take it through our final results here for the Adelaide Street Circuit, Bradley?
the results up on your screen. Of course, that weather holding off from the rain, and Jansu Foster going to find his way to another victory here on the broadcast on VSPEED. Tavares is going to come home in second, holding off there. Lost a lot of time, but able to come home on the podium. Dennis Branch in the top three. We'll get a word with those drivers in just a moment. Victor Odd had an opportunity to just under a quarter of a second there at the finish line for fourth position. Gabri Martinez going to finish in fifth spot. I am Keeman. Maybe some damage to start this race off. A little off the pace, but the last of the cars on the lead lap for the number 7. Then you have Lucas Hand, who gained about 13 positions to finish up here in 7th. Svechnikov going to bring it home in 8th. Linton in 9th. And Alvarez going to round out your top 10.
In P11, it's the 21 of James Flores, followed up by the 16 of Edward Coffin. Again, just I can't say proud necessarily, but happy to see Coffin stick it out here to the end of the race. And
especially with that connection issue.
Almost gets to the top 10. So congratulations to him coming in as the 16th high-rated driver, with Cesar DeMello in the 18, taking home 13th. Dan Yang, after the contact from the race lead, falls back to 14th, but did make his way back out onto the track after about 10 minutes of repairs done to the number 5. Christian Dernberger in the 17 takes home 15th, with Helio Munbani in the 20 taking home 16th. The 3 of Rohan Sneer, an early exit for him, takes him to 17th. The 10 of Felipe Sarkis takes home 18th. Michael Dodd in the 11 and 19th. Leandro Tercet in the 12 takes home 20th. Max Mueller in the 14 takes home 21st, with Albert Popov, our first early exit of the race there on lap number 2. The 22 finishes in 22nd. Brad, it looks like we've got all of our podium finishers this week ready to have a word with us. What do you say we start out with our race winner, Kevin Jansu Foster, joining us here in the VSPEED booth. Kevin, you got a copy?
Yeah, I got a copy here, guys.
Man, what a drive from you. First of all, I have to ask, what happened in the qualifying? We're not used to seeing the number 1 car starting in the very back of the field, obviously taking the grid in P19, making 18 passes to come away with a win here at Adelaide.
To be honest, I didn't see JT or Timothy in the lobby, so I figured I'd take the chance to start from the back and see if I could survive a street circuit race going from the back to the front.
Well, you did, but you nearly didn't. The contact with Dan Yang coming out of turn 16, the right front making contact with the left rear of the 5 machine. We saw damage on Yang's machine, but not yours. How imperative was that for you to make that pass at that time? It seemed like Yang had the opportunity to get back around you there, and just maybe a little bit too far into the corner. You nearly off into the grass, but able to collect it and drive away with the race win from there.
Yeah, as I caught up to the back of Dan, I noticed that he was quite slow in one of the sections, the right, left, right in the second sector, I believe. So I was able to creep up and really get right onto the back of him and just slot in for a couple laps. I was just kind of observing where he was slower, where he was quicker. I didn't feel any pressure to make a move right away. And then once I had an opportunity with the push to pass, he went defensive. I just took the normal line, and there was a bit of a battle there. Then once I started to put the pressure on, he started to move around in the braking zones and cutting across, driving a little bit slower on the racing line. So it was just kind of off-putting and dangerous slightly. Managed to get by him into that one hairpin, and didn't anticipate that he would just throw it back down the inside there. And I had my front wheel to his rear on the outside, and 2 wheels already almost on the grass. So he kept the squeeze on, and yeah, unfortunately we made contact there when it was unnecessary.
It was very light contact indeed. Well, it at least appeared to be from our perspective of things. So shocking to see the damage take the 5 out at that point. But We had a comment out there in the YouTube chat talking about patience being key. Would you agree with that one today here at Adelaide?
I suppose there's an element of patience. I was just watching the laps tick on and making sure that I didn't cut myself too short of chances. Also, didn't want to launch an attack too early. Um, kind of felt more like I needed to seize an opportunity rather than force one, and that's kind of what I feel like I did.
Well, a great race win for you. Again, 18 passes completed, and of course, setting the fastest lap on the last lap, a 103.499 on the afternoon. Kevin, Jan Sue Foster, who do you have to say thanks to for your success here in South Australia?
As always, I got to thank my family, friends, girlfriend. They're all watching the stream every Saturday. We had a little bit of a break during the winter, and I was gone traveling, but now I'm back, and hopefully we'll be on the broadcast for the next couple races. Also got to thank Tomas Simon with the setups, and everybody at SRN, especially Alan.
Awesome. Well, glad to have you back, Kevin. We'll be looking forward to seeing you up here more often through the rest of the series. Congratulations for your race win. We'll see you next week.
Yep, thank you guys.
Your race winner, everybody. What a drive it was. Bradley, I believe you've caught up with our second place finisher. Valerio Tavares now joining us up here in the VSPEED booth.
Yes, I have Tavares up here in the VSPEED broadcast booth, and man, towards the end of that thing, that last two laps, what happened there? Was it a mistake? Was it lap traffic? It seemed like you lost a ton of ground, and I was starting to wonder if the podium was up for grabs from second spot.
Man, I was just trying to manage the distance from Dennis. I saw that he was fighting with Victor. I was actually taking it easy to avoid a crash because this track is so hard, man. Especially on turn one, if you want to really push on that turn one and two, if you make a small little mistake there, you're gone. So I was actually trying to manage the 2 second that I had for Dennis. Then he dropped down to 1 second, but I had almost a full lap of push to pass. So that's kind of what my head was at. I was trying to fight like in my head not to make a mistake and keep the focus.
Well, a lot of drivers, we saw the attrition here tonight, and it looked like a very difficult track to get around. But you put yourself up in the front and try to avoid as much of that as possible. It seemed like about half the field was struggling at one portion of the track or another. Did you feel like you had any strength or favorite spot on this racetrack?
So I think usually when I get the turn one and two, if I get it really well, my first sector and second sector are very strong. My third sector I don't have much of a variance. It's very stable, but I feel like throughout the race, sector one and two, it varies a lot because if you miss a little bit of a turning point on that those mid slow corners, you can lose like easily 3.3, 3/10, 4/10.
Well, and finally, you come out here with third position in mind. You bump it up one spot. Excellent drive here. Going to gain a little bit there in the points. Is there anybody you want to shout out while we have you in the booth?
Absolutely. Of course, my wife that unconditionally supports me on this sim racing. She was actually over here celebrating with me after the race. She came down and congratulated me. So, for her, of course, my guys at Brazilian Storm Racing, BS Racing, if you know what I mean, and of course, anyone that my friends down in Brazil that supports me as well. So all of those guys. It's my first podium on the broadcasted, so pretty happy about it.
Brazilian Storm. Tavares, we appreciate you coming up here and talking to us. We hope to see you next time here in the broadcast booth. Until then, buddy, stay tracking.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for the broadcast. It's always fun to rewatch it.
Valerio Tavares going to bring it home in second. And finally on our podium, look at Threlkeld is down on the pit with Dennis Branch.
Hey, hello. How you doing, guys?
Dennis Branch doing great, my friend. How about yourself?
Nah, not too bad. I'm surprised to be here.
Well, we're not too surprised by any means. You put down a solid race out here, a constant battle over the last 10 laps with Victor Odd, just closing the gap and able to stay out in front of him. We saw where, it seemed like the straight line speed kind of in favor of Victor Odd. You had a couple of spots on the track, though, that you really excelled, being that turn 1, turn 2, and then I believe it was 12, 13, and 14. You seem to be able to put a couple tenths over your competitor there each and every lap. And just talking with Valerio Tavares, he was mentioning just how hard turns 1 and 2 can be. What were maybe some key points of success to keeping this car so fast through those sections?
I just these kind of tracks I tend to do well at. It's the really ultra fast tracks like Monza and whatnot that I suffer at, but these I do okay. Victor was fast, and I think if he had gotten me, I think he could have pulled away a little bit because I think he had, just that tiny bit, maybe half a tenth. But it's so hard to pass here.
Yeah, it's
Even when a couple of times he got a decent run, down into the back straight, you gotta either just send it up the inside and hope you live, or if you want to stay alive, you got to be careful.
Yeah, it seemed like a lot of the times where his passing opportunity came to an actual opportunity, it always seemed to fall in favor of you in those sections that we're talking about, where you seem to be just a little bit faster. And
Yeah,
the defense wasn't really a high aspect for you. Just seemed like you were able to consistently run your favorite line through those portions, and it just worked out for you time and time again. Now we see you started here in fourth, you gained that one spot. We saw battles all around you, and obviously it came to be you finishing in third place. Now, obviously, you mentioned that you kind of favor the more technical tracks.
yeah. I appreciate the places like Canada or here, or just any places that have these slower but more technical sections. I tend to do better in those, and so this one kind of suited me. That's why I was able to. I wasn't really worried about Victor in that first sector. It was just that back straight that he seemed to just get every now and then. If he was on the button and I wasn't, and I wasn't paying attention, he tried to make a lunge, and it was like one or two times where I thought we were gonna make contact. I thought for sure he was gonna spin, or I was gonna spin. But he kept it clean. I get him more power to him, and he raced well.
Well, so did you, my friend. Who do you have to say thanks to for your third place finish here in South Australia?
How about just you guys? We appreciate the broadcast that we get every week. This is awesome. It brings more people to this series. This car is awesome, and any attention we can get on this car and get more people in it, the more the better. So appreciate it, you guys.
Well, we thank you for the kind words, Dennis. We couldn't agree more. These are always some fun races to broadcast. You guys always put on a show for us. We hope to see you next week up here in the VSPEED booth. But until then, have a great rest of your day.
Take it easy, guys.
Well, Bradley, that's going to do it for our podium finishers here at the Adelaide Street Circuit. What were your thoughts for what is our first broadcast here on VSPEED at this track?
My initial thought was it's going to be exciting, and there was no shortage of excitement, but what I would have liked to have seen is maybe collectively a little bit more track time, especially for half this field. It was a struggle, to say the least, and the overtakes that were limited. Sometimes I think situations got created by maybe some guys that were off the pace, and we never want to see contact between any of these cars, but again, I think we got robbed there at the end with that slight contact on the left rear, and of course Dan Gang falling out of the lead. And Yancey Foster even said it, it was unnecessary contact, but I think for the most part you're gonna see a wheel touch here or there, and I don't think that iRacing maybe intends for that to be a damaged race-ending day. And I think for all of us here as spectators, we were robbed of a great finish, but we got some great action there between second through fourth. And as Dennis Branch was mentioning there, Victor Odd definitely making lunges. Would have liked to have seen maybe a battle there for the podium finish to finish this one off, maybe redeem what we got lost there. But fantastic race overall, and not bad for the first one. Looking forward to more here.
Well, we're definitely going to have more as next week we take it to Miami. 22 laps for the Miami Grand Prix in the Super Formula 23B Open Series. The cloud coverage could put into play some rain for the first time in a long time here in this series. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, see how that goes about. But until then, it's been a great day here for racing in South Australia. Of course, make sure you check out that description in the video description below, rather, for Graham Cracker's Racing, Race Ready 3D, and Sim Racing Nation. Check out that Patreon link if you want to be a part of the reason we get to put these shows on every Saturday that is available for us. Until next week, I've been Logan Threlkeld, Bradley Cooper up here in the production truck, and as our co-host, you've been watching VSPEED. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody. We'll see you in Miami.